acknowledges with respect that the land we are on today is the traditional and ancestral homelands of the Kumeyaay Nation. We recognize the indigenous peoples as original stewards of this land and all the relatives within it. As these words of acknowledgement are spoken and heard, the ties nations have to their traditional homelands are renewed and reaffirmed. We now have roll call. Cece Albright. Present. Richie Andrews.
Present.
Ronell Aquino.
Present.
Jose Arendado.
Present.
Matea Battenfield. Here. Wyatt Boswell.
Present.
Tatiana Colum.
Present.
Jameson Daytop.
Present.
Stella Destino.
Present.
Eliana Freitas.
Present.
Victoria Garcia.
Present.
Dorothy Gordon.
Present.
Alicia Gupta.
Present.
Cassie Lennon.
Present.
Hope Lowry.
Present.
Emma Mozilova.
Present.
Ellen Oski. Hope Lowry.
Present.
Sabina Piran. Michael Sandoval.
Present.
Natalie Trudeau.
Present.
Sophia Bowe.
Present.
And Abigail Wachter. All right, thank you, Clerk. We now move to the approval of the agenda for today's meeting. Clerk of the Senate. I move to amend the agenda to move the confirmation vote of ASG appointments to be the first item of new business, followed by swearing in, to add vote for election bylaws in as the third item of new business for 10 minutes, and to table the agenda item, presentation on SHWIP by Ann Crass, to next week's new business.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor that has been seconded to move the confirmation vote of ASG appointments to the first item of new business, followed by swearing in, to add the vote of ASG election bylaws as the third item of new business, and to table the presentation on SHWIP by NCAS to next week. Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, we will vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed, and any abstentions. Motion passes. Agenda has been amended. Senator Sophia?
I move to approve today's agenda.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor that has been seconded to approve the agenda for March 12th, 2026. Is there any discussion? If there is no discussion, we will now vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed, and any abstentions. Agenda passes. We now go to the approval of the minutes from last week's Senate meeting on March 5th, 2026. Senator Ronell.
I move to approve the minutes for March 5, 2026.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor that has been seconded to approve the minutes from Senate's March 5th, 2026 meeting. Is there any discussion? If there is no discussion, we will now move to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed, and any abstentions. Minutes pass. Okay, now on to new business. We go to the confirmation vote of ASG appointments. Oh, nice. This one's up. If you're looking at it on your computer, there are names of the ASG appointments that have happened and that we are voting to confirm this week. These individuals have undergone an interview process with the respective executive branch member that interviews them and have been appointed to these positions, and we are now voting to confirm them. Senator Eliana. There's a motion on the floor that has been seconded to approve, or to confirm, the ASG appointments. Is there any discussion? If there is no discussion, we will now vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed, and any abstentions. Motion passes. Our next order of new business is swearing in. At this time, I welcome the Chief Justice to the front and also our members in the public to come up to the front for swearing in.
The members of the Associated Student Government of the University of San Diego shall adhere to the highest ethical standards. They shall exercise judgments which are fair, consistent, and equitable. They shall do everything they can to strive for excellence in their goals, adhere to the Constitution and bylaws of the Associated Student Government, and to work to achieve the mission of the University of San Diego. After each of the following questions, please respond with "I will." Will you demonstrate loyalty to the mission and goals of the Associated Student Government and the University of San Diego?
I will.
Will you be fair and just in the treatment of all, addressing issues and people without prejudice, and maintaining a positive working and learning environment?
I will.
Will you honor agreements and preserve confidentiality?
I will.
Will you be honest in and accountable for your actions and statements?
I will.
Will you demonstrate personal and professional integrity in all matters and respect ASG leaders, administrators, faculty, staff, and students?
I will.
Okay. Incoming officers, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly promise and swear to support and maintain the Constitution of the Associated Student Government of the University of San Diego. Yeah.
I do solemnly promise and swear to support and maintain the Constitution of the Associated Student Government of the University of San Diego.
That I will seek to meet student needs, enhance the quality of education, represent and serve the student body,
That I will seek to meet student needs, enhance the quality of education, represent and serve the student body,
and to the best of my ability, I will faithfully execute the duties of the office upon which I am about to enter.
and to the best of my ability, I will faithfully execute the duties of the office upon which I am about to enter.
All right, you are now sworn in. Everyone please join me in welcoming our new members.
Thank you, Chief Justice, and welcome to our new senators. Our next item of new business is the vote on the ASG election bylaws by judicial branch that we went over last week. Is that last week? 2 weeks ago. That we went over 2 weeks ago. Is there any discussion? Senator Jameson.
I move to approve the vote on ASG election bylaws by the judicial branch.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor that has been seconded to approve the ASG election bylaws by judicial branch. Is there any more discussion? If there is no more discussion, we will now vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed, and any abstentions. Motion passes. Our next item of new business is the confirmation vote on the Endowment Scholarship Committee nominees by President Lilly. President Lilly, do you want to offer a word on how these nominees were selected?
Each of these nominees was nominated by someone in this room, either a senator or executive board member. They were vetted based on their application and nomination, reached out to, they meet the requirements in order to fulfill an unbiased decision when evaluating the endowment committee. None of these committee members are eligible to apply for the scholarship, and they are just pending on the approval of the Senate.
Senator Eliana? motion on the floor that has been seconded to approve the Endowment Scholarship Committee nominees. Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, we will now vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed? And any abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, our next order of new business is the over 10K request by the people of the islands. At this time, I invite them to the front to give their presentation.
Hi everyone, I'm Lauren.
My name's Marina.
And we are part of the People of the Islands Club and we're presenting for Spring Luau 2026.
So the topics we'll be going over today is our event details, our purpose, a bit of a cost breakdown, how we're fundraising for the event, and how this affects and impacts the USD community.
So our event is going to be held on April 25th on the Paseo de Palacios lawn from 5 to 9 p.m. We are expecting around 550 undergraduates and about 90% of the attendance will be USD undergraduates and 10% will be non-USD guests. There is going to be an admission fee for the non-USD guests. It's going to be $10 and that goes towards our fundraiser. And the theme for our luau is E Ho'olalea Ana Ika Ho'oilina Paniolo, which translates to celebrating Hawaiian cowboy heritage.
A little more about our purpose. Some of the values of the People of the Islands Club is creating an inclusive environment where cultural awareness, advocation, and education is encouraged. And the luau is the core representation of our values, especially when it comes to student performers. Every luau we teach around 5 cultural dances. Last year we had over 50 dancers, all undergraduates who have never danced before, have never learned anything about Polynesian culture. So this just shows how much it does impact the undergraduate community at USD. We also do a lot of outreach efforts. We open the floor to FUSO and other cultural groups in San Diego to perform and share their culture and community. And these outreach efforts definitely reflect our values as POI and is the reason why we decided to support some nonprofit organizations back at home as well.
So for our event, we are going to be fundraising for the Paniolo Preservation Society. And this is a nonprofit organization dedicated to preserving and perpetuating Hawaii's proud and living Paniolo heritage. So a little bit about this preservation society. They are committed to upstanding the long-held tradition of the ranching community. And this supports our club values of protecting and sharing our culture. And it's located on the Big Island of Waimea, Hawaii.
A little bit about our past luau success. So in 2024, the attendance was over 450 people with receiving a little over $12,000 in funding. We brought a local artist called Kamale Kava'a from Maui, and his name brought a lot more attendance in undergraduates as well as the San Diego community. We also always incorporate other multicultural clubs like ASA, FUSO, VSA, Mecha, and ACHA. And we also use this luau to raise money for the Lahaina fires that were happening at the time. So with that community outreach, it brought in a lot more guests, and we were able to raise over $2,000 for the Maui fire relief. In 2025, we had the largest funder ever with $14,000, with again 450 people in attendance. We also outreached to some local brands back home. We got some donations from Aloha Collection and Crazy Shirts, which was also very successful in bringing and incorporating the community from Hawaii and San Diego as well.
Into a little bit of the cost breakdown. So for food, we cater from Declines. He is an approved vendor and we've been working with him for several years. And we need to get the food permits, so vendor and organization city permits, as well as utensils, plates, and the mandatory Dasani water.
him in all the previous luau's as well. This is a little rundown of our catering order. So you can see that it tends to be a little larger. In Hawaii, we value music and food especially. So luau has always been the place where people can come, indulge, eat something they've never tried before. So we want people to feel like they can come back for seconds and also feel very welcome. You can also see the mandatory Dasani waters taking up a lot of the budget as well. We have some paper goods, and lastly, the food permits. We have to get 2 of them. They are both $300 each and have been rising in cost the past couple of years. So those are noticeable expenses as well.
So we love to decorate for luau. That's a primary draw for our event, and it really brings the Hawaiian culture to our event. And we get these decorations primarily from Poi family donations, Leilani's leis, and Molokai plumerias. And we use these decorations to decorate the outdoor space and for our lei making activity. We also get Amazon orders, and those are used to decorate the stages and the tables. And this is just a breakdown of the decorations. So we get tea leaves and real plumeria flowers, as well as plastic coverings for the tables and the belly bars.
A little more about our activities and entertainment. So lei making is one of our largest activities at the luau. Unfortunately, we do have to fly in the plumerias from Hawaii through Leilani's leis, but this is a very notable cultural community event and activity. Everyone walks around with their leis, and it's a very fun thing. We also have raffles and games. Like we said, the raffles are donated from Hawaiian corporations as well as local San Diego businesses. We'll also have Mama's Island Sweets providing shaved ice and snacks for guests to enjoy. And our guest performer this year, we have 8-row 8. He is offering himself at a discounted rate. However, we do have to cover hotel and flight accommodations. There's also a bit of equipment required just because we are hosting it on the Paseo, and all we really have available is a spider box.
So every year at luau, we have a live performer, and this is because in Hawaii, reggae music is so big and it encourages everyone to dance and just have fun. So this year we want to have 8-row 8. He is from Hawaii and he has Pacific Island roots. He's Samoan. And he's a Hawaiian reggae artist with a twist of rap, R&B, and hip hop. And he has 2 really popular songs along with many others, but these 2 popular songs have over 2 million streams. And he is also named as one of Spotify's 2024 Asian and Pacific Islander Heritage Month artists to watch. And we chose 8-row 8 because we feel like he'll bring a fun vibe to our event that'll get everyone dancing and having fun. And this is just a breakdown of the activities and entertainment. So at the top there's Mama's Island Sweets, and then we need costumes for our performers, and then there's the performance fee for 8-row 8 as well as the travel accommodations.
We also love hosting student performers, which are undergraduates. This is an opportunity to highlight a lot of people in the multicultural community and let them showcase some of their talents.
We're also going to be renting from Raphael's Party Rentals. We're going to be renting lighting because this is an outdoor event and we need to showcase the stage. And we also need to get more staging equipment since our stage that is provided is rather small. And we also need to get more seating and tabling. Since we're going to have a lot of people, we need extra belly bars and extra seats. And this is just a breakdown of the equipment we are going to be renting from Raphael's.
This brings our total budget to $16,828.28.
We are also going to be fundraising for our event. So in the weeks coming prior to luau, we're going to be having either a stem musubi or a mamasada fundraiser, which we'll be purchasing from Dekines or Homestyle Hawaiian at discounted prices. And we're also going to be asking for donations from local businesses in Hawaii for our raffle prizes, which we will give away at luau. And we will also be having a bracelet making, and we're actually going to have a Pi and E-board member fundraiser next week. And all these proceeds will go towards our luau.
So a little bit more about our community. A majority of the attendants of the luau are USD undergraduates. It's open to all students, faculty, and staff as well. But because of how many
for them to explain what their event is and also to bring their members of all these clubs to our event. And it's a great way for our guests and USD students to just explore the other multicultural orgs on campus because we want to share our Hawaiian culture with everybody, not just Poi, and we want to just collaborate with all these multicultural orgs to bring in that Hawaii energy in that community. And thank you, mahalo.
Yes, so now, oh. Yeah, oh. Okay. No, okay, so now after their presentation, this is the time where the only time you guys will have to ask Poi questions, so feel free to ask your questions now.
Idea chair?
Hi guys, thank you for your presentation. I just wanted to ask because this is obviously a really big event. You guys said like it was around 450 people, and it seems to be a growing event. You guys said around 550 this year, and I just want to know like how do you guys keep track of how many people go to the event? Because that is a lot of people, and if this is a growing event, I do believe you should get more funding than you did last year. But I do want to make sure like how are you guys like tracking the people that come to the event? How do you know it's going to be like 550 people? You know?
Yeah, so in our previous luau's, we've used the iPads to track USD undergrads. We also have proof of ticket sales to USD families, as well as we said there's a lot of undergraduate involvement in the event. I think we had around 55 dancers last year, and that doesn't even include the volunteers, so that's probably up to 75 or 80 undergraduates putting together this event. So yes, we've been tracking it over the past couple of years, and we've noticed that the involvement with nonprofits back in Hawaii has increased excitement, awareness, and attendance as well.
Senator Aliana?
Kind of going off of attendance, do you guys have some kind of form of like wristbands or something to like just ensure that like the people that are going in are already counted for? That way you guys get like a running total.
Yes, we do stamps at the front, and we also do food stamps just to kind of monitor how much food is being taken out. We did have to cut the budget on food last year, so we had to be a little more stingy, unfortunately, and have people only get one serving. So yeah, we track that with stamps, and if people come up to get food, they have to sign in first.
Athletics coordinator?
Hi, so you guys charge $10 for outsiders. Have you guys always had that price, and then would you consider raising it?
We've previously had that price. We could raise it, but we want to make this really accessible to families and guests who are coming to just support a dancer. So we want to keep that cost as low as possible, but we are fundraising to a nonprofit organization, so we want to make sure that there are proceeds going to that organization.
Academics chair?
I see my time, my question was answered. Thank you.
Senator Sophia?
Hi, thank you so much for coming to speak with us. I just wanted to ask one quick question. You said that you had a $12,150 budget in 2024, and then that was up to $14,000 in 2025. Was that budget provided for entirely by ASG, or are you including fundraised amounts in that?
That was the ASG budget that we did receive. I will say in the second year, a lot of that went to the student performers' costumes. We want to be as inclusive as possible to have people who have never danced before participate in the luau, and so we don't see it fit to charge them for costumes to make them all look uniform and culturally appropriate. So a lot of that extra funding did go there. But the extra fundraising efforts, yeah, most of it just went to luau, decorations, other things. Usually, when we get funding from ASG, Poi families, Poi members, we all kind of go, not into debt, but we
their sizes kind of change, like we need more smalls or more mediums. And this year we are expecting more dancers. So if we don't have that amount of costumes, we will have to buy new costumes because a lot of the costumes are either made or purchased, but they're not available like from like a few years ago. We will try to reuse costumes as much as we can, but we're expecting more dancers this year, so we'll need to purchase more costumes.
I have a question. Can I ask how much you had or how much you spent on the performer from last year?
Yes, I believe they always give us discounted prices, like Hawaii prices. So I think the upfront cost was 2,500, and then last year it was Come Like Kava'a as well, but we wanted to have a different variation of his performance with a reggae band. So I think that was around 8 members that we had to fly out and accommodate. So I think that brought the total to around $6,000, similar to this year as well.
President?
Thank you so much for coming in. This is a bit of a tough question. I don't want to put you on the spot. However, I found it really difficult to align this event with any category that we have on our funding guide of how we traditionally fund events. How would you say your event is completely unique to this funding guide and kind of unique as a whole? And how would you try to categorize this event if you could just choose so openly?
This is the biggest event of multicultural organizations. We bring about 500 people, and it's a huge event that all students can come to, and all undergraduates are excited to come to. And we have so many dancers and people that absolutely love coming to Luau every year and People of the Islands, this is our one event of the year that we put on. So we put all of our efforts and into this event that we love so dearly.
I would categorize it as just the multicultural community in general. I've heard a lot of feedback from other people in the other clubs as well, and they say the luau poi is always one of their favorite events. I think something special to the Hawaiian tradition and culture is that we tend to be very welcoming of all different walks of land, all different types of people from Polynesia, all different types of islands. So it's really hard to categorize. Yes, it is with the cultural background of Hawaii, but we also take this as an opportunity to represent, embrace other cultures as well. So I think, in my opinion, this isn't just a poi event, this is an event for the whole multicultural community at USD.
Senator Michael?
Hi, thank you for your presentation. I really enjoyed it. My question is, there's a lot of people planning to attend this event, and I know we have P-Safe, but I don't think there's a lot of P-Safe or as many P-Safe to provide security. Is there going to be any additional security?
We don't tend to have any additional security because, we are a student-run organization. We don't really feel like we have access to those resources. If they were granted, we would be more than welcome to. But so far, we've just been monitoring all of that and keeping everyone safe with volunteers. So if there is a solution, or if we can use P-Safe for that, that would be amazing. But since we are student-run, we just didn't really feel that that was in our jurisdiction, you could say.
Senator Jameson?
Well, thank you so much for presenting. Just two things. I don't know if you mentioned the actual date for oops, that's on me.
give back to the community in a way. If this was just a boy event, that'd be great, but we want to have a deeper meaning to this event because there's so many people and
Point of order. The time allotted for this activity has now elapsed. Student lecture.
I move to extend the time period for this event by 15 minutes.
There's a motion on the floor that has been seconded to extend the time allotted for this agenda item by 15 minutes. Is there any discussion? Senator Wyatt?
A lot of the questions me and Paula can't answer because they had presented to us. So I think 5 minutes if you guys have any additional questions, but 15 seems like a bit much.
Point of information. Is the time allotted their presentation and our discussion? Is the point allotted their presentation and the ASGBC presentation, or is it separate?
That is correct. It is their presentation as well as the finance chair's presentation on ASGBC's recommendation.
Okay, so I would 15 minutes is good, I think.
Is there any more discussion? If there is no discussion, we will now vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed? And any abstentions? Motion passes. Time is extended for this agenda item by 15 minutes.
Going off of Jameson's question, we only started collaborating with nonprofit organizations 2 years ago during the Lahaina fires. This was a movement primarily driven by me just because I saw how devastating it was on my community. And people at USD, they found it appropriate to advocate for that because how can you travel to Hawaii? How can you celebrate this culture without acknowledging these extinguishing cultural practices and extinguishing culture in itself? So I think in the past couple of years, we've just decided to partner it with a nonprofit organization to further represent our values as an organization. We don't use this event primarily to fundraise, but it's more an advocacy and cultural preservation from our standpoint. So going off of what Lauren said, I would describe it as a event.
All right, as of now, we have no further questions, but I have one last question for you, kind of along the same vein. The fundraisers that you all do, the bracelets and the musubi, does the money from those fundraisers go directly to supporting Luau? Is it for the nonprofit organization? I just wanted to get some clarity on that.
It goes directly towards supporting Luau.
Any other questions? If there are no questions, thank you. At this time, I invite the finance chair to come up to the front and give ASGBC's recommendation.
Alright, so this is ASGBC's recommendation for FOI. So I'm going to breeze through these just because of timing, but non-voting members, me, controller, and our advisor. This is our current budget, $277,000
10.4.
Hi. Hi.
Okay. I just had a quick question about the $10 per undergrad student.
Yes.
Do you, I don't know if you would know, but like, how did we even come to the $10 per student? Is that considering the, I guess, years of inflation and I guess our current kind of state?
Yeah, so unfortunately it is like my first semester here, so I genuinely don't know the answer to that question. But I do know that so I've gone back to certain like old documents, like even 2023, and I did see that I believe it was different. So we have been accounting for the inflation rate, like you had mentioned. Good question.
Student Life Chair.
Hi, thank you for presenting, but clarify me if I'm incorrect.
Yeah.
But the $10 per student is just for food?
So here, it is a maximum of $10 per person for food and entertainment. Mm-hmm.
The President.
I would like to give a little bit of ASG history. So I was on the Senate last year when we voted to increase their budget to be 14,000, and the specific rhetoric and explanation we used while we did this, it was unprecedented, and we felt it was necessary due to the uniqueness of the event. And just the idea that there really is nothing else like it, as well as it kind of doesn't fit into the current categories we have on the funding guide. I've discussed with the finance chair and she can elaborate on this, but ASGBC does have the ability to edit the funding guide, and that is a potential idea they're looking into, not saying that is going to happen. However, I think the committee or Senate should highly consider following this logic due to the cultural significance of this event as well as the community significance. It actually happens to be on the same day as the Linda Vista Multicultural Parade. So think about the opportunity we have to engage with our community by going off campus and then opening like our campus to the community, and kind of the beauty that brings. And then if the finance chair has anything to add to that, like the numbers from last year, I'm not sure, I'm not familiar with that. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so a fun fact about Hoy is that for their last luau, they actually asked for less money than they asked for this year, which is not a thing that happens often. Often people, if you have more expected amounts of undergrad, then you ask for more money. But although they expect more undergrad, they're actually asking for less money. So that really goes to show like how they've done budget cuts, how knowledgeable they are on what things are important and like where to cut costs. And the fundraiser.
Athletics Coordinator.
Would you be able to go to the last slide, please?
Oh, is it this one?
Literally, yeah, you had it. I move to approve HGBC's recommendation for this event.
Senator Michael.
I move to
Point of information, so this wasn't denied, but there's another thing that's going on. What's happening? It wasn't seconded, but it wasn't. Okay, cool. I'm just wondering.
Chief Justice.
Oh, sorry. Can I finish saying what I was gonna say?
I've given the point of order. Speaker not recognized. Chief Justice.
There's a motion on the floor that hasn't been seconded, so we can't move on to a vote as it wasn't seconded. So the motion is just like done.
There's a motion on the floor that has been seconded to move to a recess. Is there any discussion? Speaker Pro Tempore.
Hi. Oh my god, sorry. I would recommend we do not go to a recess just because it does kind of seem weird if we turn off the cameras and we all kind of huddle up together and talk about it. I feel like it's a discussion that we can have out loud in front of everyone. So I would not go to a recess. We can continue to talk about what we want to do moving forward with our decision for how much money will be allocated. Again, we don't have to decide an exact number if we don't feel comfortable with that. We can send this back to ASGBC to reconsider if you guys want, but I would recommend not going to a recess and just continuing to talk about this out loud on record. Thanks.
Senator Jameson.
With that being said, are we allowed to pause Robert's rules of order and then talk amounts, discuss amongst everyone, and then unpause it?
Academic Chair.
I'm sorry, this is just a follow-up question for the finance chair. Is that okay? Oh, okay. I just want to be clear on something. In the event this were to go back to finance committee as a, I'm sorry, ASGBC as a reallocation. Sorry, your question was if this can come back to us? No, I'm sorry. My question is if it went back to ASGBC as a reallocation, how long it would take for then you to make a decision, then it to come back to Senate because this is an event that's coming up soon. I just want to make sure that they would have enough time to use their funding. 100%, that's a good
Point
question.
of order. This is not germane.
We have a motion on the floor right now to suspend, or excuse me, to go to a recess. So that is the discussion that we are to be having right now. And so that was not relevant to the current discussion. Senator Eliana.
About recess, I don't think we should just like finish it right now and let's just vote to get it over with because I feel like we already all have our opinions. Just vote on it.
Senator Jameson.
I see my time.
As a reminder, there is a motion on the floor that has been seconded to move to a recess. Is there any more discussion? If there is no discussion, we will now vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed? And any abstentions? Motion is denied. Speaker Pro Tempore.
Okay. As of last year, ASG did allocate $29 per person for the food and entertainment, just so you guys all know. So that means that we're doing $11 less per person this year. I personally think that we should obviously increase that. We can talk about a number right now, but just so you guys know, as of what we did last year, I would say we do that same number, if not more, personally. Okay.
Senator Cece.
Going off of that last point, I think it was important that we recognize that there are multiple different cultural groups in this, which would probably add to the population as well, the people that will be attending, since people from all of their clubs are going. I don't know if that's already adding in there, but I feel like that would be at least 100 more people if there's say like 10 or 8 people in each group. So going off of that, would we be at like closer to $650 and then we have to add like $10 to that? I just think there should be an update
The time allotted for this item has now elapsed. Speaker Pro Tempore.
I move to extend the time for this agenda item by 10 minutes.
There's a motion on the floor that has been seconded to extend the time for this agenda item by 10 minutes. Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, we will now vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed, and any abstentions? Motion passes. 10 minutes are extended for this agenda item. Student lecture.
I move to deny ASGBC's funding recommendation and fund in their full requested amount.
There's a motion on the floor that has been seconded to deny ASGBC's recommendation and fund boys' request in full. Is there any discussion? Senator Wyatt.
The issue is that it's not based on anything. We need to have like we need to like be able to allocate equitably. And right now we don't have a category for this event. So if you want to create a category for this event because it's one of a kind, that's fine. But right now it's in this event open category, and this is what we've created. This additional dollar per 50 people is new as of last semester, but just to allocate all the funds doesn't necessarily make sense because we go off of this system. $29 last year was based off of an increase of inflation from the year prior, which was $26. Again, I don't think that was based on anything either. So there needs to be some sort of system for an event like this. Like Lily was saying, like I'm not opposed to having, events over 400 people, and then allocate that kind of money. But right now it's just not based on anything, so it doesn't make sense for me to agree with just giving them all the money that they asked for.
Senator Sophia.
I'm sorry, I raised my placard for a different issue. Can I table my time until after this discussion's done? Thank you.
Speaker Pro Tempore.
Okay, while I do agree that that motion doesn't have precedent, and we do have to kind of consider how much money we're doing instead of saying that we're just going to fund it in full, I do think that we should consider expanding the funding guide for this event, and with that, our motion should be something very specific to set precedent for this event. That way when they come again next year, they have guidelines that we set today when we vote on this to go based off of next year so that the next Senate doesn't have to do this. And so I would just like to advise all of you guys to maybe not approve this motion. We come to a number based off of like the funding guide. Let's say we do choose to do the $29, the 30 or whatever. We do the numbers for it, and then we accept that number rather than the entire number, if that makes sense. Okay, we can ask more questions, but I think that we have to be very clear with how we do this and why we're doing what for next year and for precedent and for other events like this in the future.
As a reminder, there is still a motion on the floor that has been seconded to fund this event in full and deny ASGBC's recommendation. Senator Eliana.
I just want to say that I see both sides. I think that we're not giving them enough money, but to just say that we're going to fund it in full without going into deliberation, we do need to put more work into that and also change the bylaws because I do think that it's unfair that we haven't been funding these cultural events to the fullest that we can. I also want to put it out there that being in a student life committee, we want to make sure that all students are included
President.
I just wanted to mention that Senate can't change the funding guide, that's ASGBC. Additionally, this does have precedent because Senate sets precedent from themselves, from the motions they make in that year and also the prior years. So you would be going off the prior year's precedent essentially. Also, you would be able to fund other orgs equitably by making this motion or whatever way you choose to fund them, because you could then fund other orgs based off of the precedent you set here. For example, in another year, we had rugby come and ask for a specific amount of funding. We chose to fund them at a different per person rate than was in the funding guide. Another club sport, women's volleyball, then came to Senate later in the year, and we had to fund them at the same per person rate that Senate had funded rugby previously in the year than what was in the funding guide, because you all had set that precedent, sorry Lily, within Senate. So you guys are setting a precedent where you can still fund other orgs equitably. It's not like you're picking and choosing. Whatever you decide to do from way here, based off of how you are choosing to categorize their event, is how, if you see another event that fits that category, you will have to fund that other org's event. If that makes sense.
Idea Chair?
So as we mentioned, and as Caitlin just mentioned, this doesn't really fall under anything for the funding guide. It is up to us, like, to decide if we want to fund this. This isn't a guide thing or anything. We're making this like on the spot. And I just want everyone to remember, like, this is like the biggest multicultural event on campus. I think it's very important for everyone to remember that and to know that and to understand that as ASG, we are funding a large multicultural event compared to things that the student body believes we have funded on Tuesday. Other things that happen around campus, we want to uplift this, like the multicultural voices at USD, because this is their biggest event. And yeah, that's all.
Thank you.
Just as a reminder, there is still a motion on the floor that has been seconded to approve this event in full, or this request in full. Senator Wyatt?
I think a suggestion could be, if you want to keep it under the same category, a suggestion could be events with 300 students, we could start adding an additional $2, or 350 students, like that. If you want to keep it under event open, that's a possibility. Or if we just want to create a whole new category, again, that's ASGBC's job. But if that's how you want to fund it under what we've already set, that's a possibility. So I can start doing the math for like 350 plus students, you get $2 more, but also I'm less likely. But in terms of the $29 we gave them last year, I'm less likely to approve of that number, because even though it was set as precedent because you guys voted on it, the precedent wasn't based on anything like this number rate that we have now.
Senator Michael?
I really like all the comments that are being said by some of the senators and by some of the exec. The reason being is because I am thinking about the other multicultural organizations as well, and this is definitely going to put precedents for them as well in the future. So I think it's very important for us to keep that in mind and understand what we do today is going to affect those in the future.
Athletics Coordinator?
Hi, I just wanted to remind everyone that ASGBC studies this all and makes these bylaws and stuff, and that they take a lot of time out of their day to make these recommendations. So I trust the recommendations, and I would go off of their recommendations.
President Lilly?
Thank you. I would like to emphasize that the position I'm coming from is not necessarily as president, but as a previous senator who has voted on this budget request now for the last 3 years. This year I'm not a voting member, but I want to provide correct context. We have never felt that this has fit into the funding guide, but that it because that is the tools they have. It comes to Senate so we can break precedent and change things. Just because it is the rule does not mean that the rule is correct. And we can bend that in
Point
order.
of order, the time allotted for this item is now elapsed.
Speaker Pro Tempore.
I move to extend this agenda item by 10 minutes.
There's a motion on the floor that has been seconded to extend the time on this agenda item by 10 minutes. Is there any discussion? If there is no discussion, we'll now vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed, and any abstentions. Motion passes. 10 minutes are added.
Thank you. So my recommendation is, yes, you need a number. Last year we decided on $29 per person. And then we just calculated that number. So I could recommend doing something like that. We added $3 on from the 26 from the prior year to account for inflation. You can do that or not do that. And then we can make a recommendation to ASGBC. We think you should add an event that is a multicultural, community open event, engaging, and we would have to put specificities on it, but really this would be the only event of its kind at this moment at USD that would fall into that new category. I do not find this to be inequitable to other groups to fund this event in full. I think there's something about community building that's really important here. Yet you guys can make whatever decision you decide. That's your vote. It does not have to be based off of previous years. However, it's important that you do this with thought and care.
Speaker Pro Tempore.
Okay, just to remind everyone, we do have a motion on the floor right now to not approve ASGBC's recommendation. So I know earlier I said we should not fund them in full, but I just did the numbers, and if we do $29 per person, that gives them $15,950, and that is not including the $2K that we're going to be giving them for the performer. So by that logic, if we went by the precedent set by last year, we would be giving them more money. So it makes sense to actually just fund them in full, because then we would just be giving them the money that they're asking for. So I think that that's best. And while that might not have rhyme or reason to some people, I feel like the numbers make sense, and we'd be giving them less than what we would be giving them last year. In my opinion, you guys can do the numbers on your own. If you have another number in mind, we can talk about it and get more. I do want to remind you, we do have another 10K request as well. So let's kind of come to a decision rather than giving our kind of thoughts at this point. We all know this is a very important event. No one is not saying that. So let's just come to a decision and start giving numbers rather than thoughts and ideas. Thanks.
Student Life Chair.
I see my time.
Senator Sophia.
Hi, okay, I just ran the numbers and came up with a very similar number. If we adjust for an inflation rate of 2.5% based on the $29 per person we gave them last year and rounded it up, so it would come out to $29.73 per person, but you just round that up to 30 and you multiply that by 550 attendees, you get $16,500. So that's almost their entire budget. Can we just agree to either, if we want to stick by the precedent, we can do the $16,500 based off of $30 per person, or if we just want to fund it in full, I don't care either way, but I think that comes out to an equitable number that makes sense off of previous precedent of Senate. Thank you.
Parliamentarian.
I think in discussions of breaking precedent or of setting a new precedent and funding based off of guidelines that people agree or don't agree that we have seen before, I think that it is important to acknowledge that this event is the largest multicultural event we have on campus. Going off of what President Lilly said, I think it is particularly beautiful to go out into our community and celebrate diversity in our community and invite our community back to us. I think Boy has done an absolutely beautiful job. I think it is truly incredible to think that we are supporting so many student organizations. We have such a large focus on diversity and, and inclusivity within USD. And I think that when we look at spending that I feel some people may think is frivolous, when we look at spending that includes new costumes, I think this is some of the most important spending that we're seeing. This is an extra step by POI to make sure that this event is as inclusive and appropriate for everybody involved, and I think this is some of the most important spending that we're seeing. I think that this effort by a student organization to make sure that their cultural event is not only open to people of other cultures and other experiences, but that is frankly encouraging so much multicultural experience, that is so open to other experiences and people of all walks of life. And I think it's very important to understand that many of us came here as student leaders because we wanted to change things, because we wanted to break the precedent that we already saw. And I think this would be a beautiful chance for people to put their money where their mouth is, and to set a new precedent based on values of diversity and inclusivity.
Chief Justice.
Just for some procedural aspects, is right now the motion on the floor is to approve in full. Technically, that's not a motion, so we should vote to deny, because the way that this process works is we first make a motion and vote on to either approve or deny ASGBC's recommendation. And then if denied, then we can vote for a new funding amount or to send it back to ASG. So the current motion on the floor, which is to approve in full, should be denied.
That is correct. I'm going to restate what the motion was. It was to deny ASGBC's recommendation and to approve in full. So what Chief Justice is suggesting is that we deny this, make the motion to deny ASGBC, if we want to preserve this motion, deny ASGBC's recommendation, and then we can move forward with an amount. So with that said, I would like to push for someone for us to move to a vote. Is there any further discussion on this topic? Senator Eliana.
I move to vote. I move to vote on the pending motions.
We have a motion on the floor already. We cannot make another motion. Once discussion is finished, we will move to a vote. Senator Wyatt.
I'd like to make it clear that it's not 550 people, it's 90% of 550 people. So at most it's 495. And then also I have a new thing. This gets us to 15,500. Again, it's shy a grand of their amount, but it's an additional $1 for 200 students, and then an additional $1 for 250.
Point of order. This is not germane.
Point of clarification.
President.
If you would like to just end this vote to get a correct motion on the floor, what you can do is say, I move to call the question. We'll go immediately to vote, deny this, and create a new motion that's applicable to procedure.
Senator Jameson.
I move to call the question.
We now move to a vote. All those in favor, please should I restate the motion? There's a motion on the floor that has been seconded to deny ASGBC's recommendation and approve the funding request in full. Is there any more discussion? There is no discussion, excuse me. We now move to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed? And any abstentions? Motion is denied. Student lecturer.
I move to deny ASGBC's recommendation.
There's a motion on the floor that has been seconded to deny ASGBC's recommendation. Is there any discussion? If there is no more discussion, we will now move to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed, and any abstentions? Motion passes. ASGBC's recommendation has been denied. Senator Sophia.
approve a new funding allocation for $30 for each attendee, going by Senator Wyeth's number of $495. That would equal $14,850 plus the $2,000 allocated for performance would give them $15,850, which is almost exactly the same amount as they requested, which is $16,828, so they get actually $30 extra. It follows precedent, and it also isn't just random out of nowhere.
There's a motion on the floor that has been seconded. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't get that motion. That was a lot. Speaker Pro Tempore.
Can you just restate that exact number? So, $30 per person, and we're expecting 90% USD attendees, which comes out to 495 USD attendees that we're funding. 30 times 495 is 14,850. 14,850 plus the $2,000 allocated for the performance budget comes out to $16,850, which is $30 over the requested amount, but it means that we're relying on previously set precedent, so it makes sense, and we're not going to have issues in the future with not following precedent.
Okay, Senator Sophia, you can just nod to confirm this, but basically your motion is to change the per person dollar amount to $30. That's
yes.
The core of your motion. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, like I said, there is a motion on the floor that has been seconded to change the per person allocation for this event to $30, and that would bring the total funding to $16,850 for this request. And this includes the $2,000 for the performer. Is there any discussion? Student Life Chair.
Does that limit them to $2,000 for performance, or are they allowed to use the other money allocated for the performance as well, including accommodations for the performer?
That is only, yeah, Paula, you can answer that.
Yeah, that $2,000 is only for the performer.
Point of order. The time allotted for this has now passed.
Senator Dorothy.
Sorry, point of personal privilege.
Senator Jameson.
I move to extend the time for 5 minutes.
There's a motion on the floor that has been seconded to extend the time by 5 minutes. Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, we will now vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed? And any abstentions? Motion passes. Time is extended by 5 more minutes. Senator Sophia.
Just a point of clarification on what Student Life Chair said. Can any of the $14,850 that we're talking about allocating to them be given to the performer as well, or no? Is that just for food?
Just food and the rest of their activities.
Okay, but not the performer? Okay, sounds good.
Student Life Chair.
I move to amend the motion that is on the floor to stick to that $30 per person, which does get you to that in full number, but then still allows them to use the
floor.
Okay, it looks like majority of us want to fund it in full. What we can do is just fund the lump sum. And that would just mean they get the money and they can use it however they want. So I already started talking, so if someone wants to make the motion that we just fund it to them in lump sum or amend the current motion, we can do that. Thanks.
We currently already have a motion to amend the first motion that was made. So just a reminder, we do need to vote on the amendment and the $30 per person, and I would suggest that we do that now.
There was point of information.
Excuse me,
There
yes.
wasn't second.
Then, yeah, there was no seconded for the amended motion. So yes, there is only one motion on the floor then, which is the $30 per person motion. Senator Wyatt.
I'm going to be outvoted here, but just to make it clear, we can't fund travel and lodging. So if you do fund in lump sum, make sure that they cannot fund the travel and the lodging of the performer. So it's fine, just can't do that.
Senator Sophia.
I would like to remind everybody that I believe any extra funds from this are going to be going to support a nonprofit. And with this in mind that it doesn't fully fit into any of our categories, I would like to call to question my previous motion of funding it to $30 per person.
We now move to a vote for the motion to change the per person amount to $30 per person. All those in favor, please raise your placards. Oh, and 2,000 for a performer. 2,000 lump sum for the performer. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed? And any abstentions? The motion fails. Athletics coordinator.
I would just like to state that I understand that it's a good cause and it's a nonprofit, but I don't think we can just take the benefit of the doubt that anything left over goes towards the nonprofit, like Senator Sophia pointed out. Because then I feel like it sets a precedent that if any other organization comes to us asking for these funds just to straight up go to a nonprofit of their choice, then it then sets the precedent that we have to support that.
Point of clarification.
President.
Sorry, the leftover
Point of order.
ASGBC funding does not go
Point of
to their
order.
thing.
The time allotted for this has now elapsed.
Senator Jameson.
I'll extend this by 5 minutes.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor that has been seconded to extend by 5 minutes. Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, we move to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed, and any abstentions? Motion passes. Speaker Pro Tem Boer.
I move to allocate the full amount to POI for their event on the contingency that they do not spend any of the money on lodging of the performer or travel.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor that has been seconded to fund POI's funding request in full, with the exception that they cannot use it on travel or lodging. Is there any discussion? If there is no discussion, we will now vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed? And any abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you.
weekend addresses domestic violence and sexual assault in the disability community and more broadly looks at how film and storytelling can be used as tools for social change and systemic accountability. So the event is April 18th and 19th here on campus, and we are hosting it in collaboration with the Natalie Project, which is an #us2 organization. And the format across both days includes film screenings, moderated Q&As, panel discussions, community receptions, and a human library experience, which is structured, facilitated conversations between the attendees and experts in the field. And we're expecting 120 people Saturday, 289 on Sunday, and our goal is for at least 75% of attendees to be USD students and faculty, with the remaining 25 being open to community members, but can be used as well for students if there are more students involved or interested in being involved. So Saturday's program is called Filmmaking as a Tool for Social Change, and we're screening the film Color Book, which is a 98-minute narrative film examining fatherhood, grief, and disability, followed by a moderated Q&A with the director of both films. The director, David Fortune, he focuses on ethical storytelling, representation, and how film advances social justice. And the day closes with a community reception and human library experience. And then Sunday is called Until Everybody is Safe. David Fortune also directed Sunday's film, and it's an 18-minute documentary. So he's going to be here both days speaking on both films. And Sunday is hosted by MC Shahrar Afshar, a national leader in autism innovation and inclusion. And after the screening, there's a moderated Q&A with David, and then a multi-perspective panel on healthy relationships, safety, and the disability community. And it's moderated by Elizabeth Espinosa, who is a 2-time Emmy Award-winning journalist and disability advocate. And the day will close with a reception, resource tables for members of the community and campus partners, and more opportunities for a human library and further discussions. So why this event exists? It's because there's a largely invisible epidemic. There are 7.38 million Americans with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and research has shown that 90% of them will be sexually assaulted during their lifetime. And here in San Diego, there are over 45,000 individuals with intellectual or developmental disabilities, and less than 1% of rapes in general lead to conviction, and that number decreases drastically when it involves an individual with a disability, because there's no support by the justice system and communities or awareness around these issues. This weekend is about raising awareness, educating our campus, and making sure these voices are part of the conversation at USD. So the total cost for both days is $17,960, $7,535 for Saturday, and $10,425 for Sunday. These are the full line item breakdowns for the first day. A majority of the budget is going to cover event space at USD because it's charged on the weekends, quite a substantial amount, as well as accessibility costs, such as ASL interpretation, live captioning for the films, and accessible materials, which it would be contradictory to host an event for disability awareness in the community if the event's not fully accessible. Those aren't things that are included with the school, and the pre-existing cost of using those spaces. And then also an honorarium to reflect working professionals, the film director, and any other speakers who would be participating. They're all giving us a very competitive price, as these are very influential and well-known people in this space. So yeah, we're nice enough to make an exception on their fees for us. And here's the cost breakdown for Sunday.
venues, the speakers, the accessibility services, and outreach to bring students into the room. This event supports real learning across disciplines and directly aligns with USD's mission to foster ethical leadership, social justice, and community impact, as well as USD does a great job of outreach and representation of many different minority and underrepresented groups, but disability, there's a huge gap in representation on campus and focuses and events that center disabled voices and experiences, as well as many other accessibility issues on campus that we're hoping to address. But for now, we're just hoping to bring some more representation to campus. And we also plan, since it is a heavy topic on involving the care advocate teams and the USD wellness resources and having them there as well, and having it be an opportunity for them to speak more on the resources they have available, as well as many different departments that are interested in collaborating with us and encouraging their students to attend this event with the class.
Wellness Coordinator.
Hi, thank you so much for presenting. And I just want for a deeper clarification. I'm wondering if you guys are receiving any additional funding from any outside resources or within your own resources. Just
Yeah, we are not receiving funding from anywhere else. We're hoping to use ticket sales and other fundraising opportunities to be able to continue this event in the future. But as we have our newly reinstated club, we do not have existing funds already in any accounts or anything like that from previous events. And yeah, so we just open to receive funding from ASG.
Yeah, that's what Alice said. No, we don't have any other funds coming. We have to start somewhere. Hopefully it's here at USD with ASG.
Senator Ronell.
On slide titled Funding Request and Impact, I see that there's a little part on the bottom that says multiple departments may co-sponsor, and then there's a suggested contribution amount. Can you elaborate on that?
It's based on the fact that the event itself is reserved. So part of the problem is they haven't given confirmation of reservation because we don't have any funding, so it's a catch-22. We can't get the space unless we have the funding, and we can't get the funding unless we have the space. So Changemaker Hub was interested in promoting and both through promotion and using the compass points to encourage students to go, as well as the sociology department and the English department, and but all of that was based on whether or not the reservation was confirmed, and you can't confirm a reservation without funds.
So we're hoping to look into community and campus partners, but we're unable to do so because the event can't be fully approved until all of the other items of booking spaces and things are taken care of, which can't be done until we know if we have any funding.
Any other questions? Senator Sophia.
Sorry, thank you so much for coming in today. I just have one quick question. You mentioned that I think it's going to be about 50% USD students.
75%.
Okay, 75%? Great. I was wondering, since you mentioned ticket sales, are you planning on having it be a ticketed event for out of USD individuals or not?
Yes, and we were planning on having it be more expensive for community participants than students.
Any other questions? Senator Michael.
I just wanted to say thank you for coming in, and not only that, but being up there and presenting as well. I really appreciate that.
Senator Ronell.
So given that this is a new club, how are you tracking that there's going to be 400 people, and how exactly has this club performed in the past with GBMs and the attendance of that?
We plan on tracking it through ticket sales as well as people checking into the event to make sure we have accurate numbers of attendance. And we have been spending since, I'd say, my first fall year as a freshman trying to just get the club started and plan any sort of event. And there's been quite a few hoops to jump through, and just overall the student org experience isn't the most accessible or inclusive, so it's been harder to get it up and moving, as well as when there aren't any pre-existing events to get members and people excited about. But so this would be our first event that we're hosting, but we're partnering with a very prominent we're very confident that there will be numbers of attendance, even though this is the first event.
Otto says I have a long history of planning disability advocacy events. I'm kind of famous in the disability space. If you Google him, actually, he's not kidding. So he's the face of the Easter Seals Disability Pride campaign. He works with Autism Tree Project Foundation. He's been part of their neurodiversity. He's on the Birch Committee with Dr. Jonathan Sabat, who is the lead geneticist and researcher at UCSD. He has an online book club where he has Pulitzer Prize winning authors come. Last year he had an event with Angie Kim, who he was a sensitivity and technical consultant for her book because she had a character in her book who was non-speaking. Sally Claw also has a new book coming out. So he's planned events for their book launch where he's had 250 people just to come see him. So since he's part of this, there'll be no, they'll be, they may be turning people away. That's the power of having Otto as part of it. So I know that none of you really understand the disability community, but it's also part of the multicultural because there is a disability culture. So, but like I said, I encourage you to Google.
Or any of the other guests who will be at the event, because they all...
Yeah, they all are really big deals in this space.
I do welcome questions. I would like to acknowledge that it is 2:11, and if we do not vote on this today, we will have to move it to next week's Senate for a vote, which will make these people, this organization, wait on their funding approval. And please also be mindful that I'm sure many of you have a 2:30 class, so please be mindful when you are asking questions. Are there any more questions for the organization? Senator Renell.
So given that your community is for the disability, is that mainly USD students or out-of-campus participants?
He said disability touches everyone.
So even if it's student participants who aren't disabled themselves, everyone knows somebody who is disabled, or most people will be at some point in their life, because as you get older, disability happens, and it's a... Oh, sorry.
Point of order, the time allotted for this has now elapsed.
Senator Sophia.
I move to extend debate by the remaining time allotted.
Second.
Like for Senate. Can we just extend it to the end?
Yeah.
There's a motion on the floor that has been seconded to extend the time for this agenda item by 3 minutes. Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, we will now vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed, and any abstentions? Motion passes. We have extended the item by 3 minutes.
Alrighty. Perfect. Alright, so I'm gonna move through all of this all the way to our recommendation, which is $13,320, which is lump sum of $10,000, 320, and the money for food is $3,000. So how exactly did we come up with that? So we talked to them, and verbally they said that it was a 50-50 ratio of USD students and the community. So what we did, we divided it to that 204 USD undergrad times $80, which is the rate. And here I didn't read it, but this is as you can see, 80 per person per night, which you guys might be like, what's going on here? What ASGBC talked about was making this the very first time where we put it into 2 categories, which is an event open to the entire student body and convention, conferences, and retreats. So we're using both of the information from these 2 sections to make this recommendation. Right, okay, so for the first one, that's the rate, which is $16,320. Now, with the convention and an event open to student, sorry. With the convention, okay, let me backtrack real quick. That's the convention rate. That's $16,320. So that's why we made it the event open to all student body, which allows us to allocate money for food, which is their total, going back to their numbers, is 6,000. So what we did was we cut it in half because of the ratio that was mentioned in the presentation they did at ASGBC, which was 50% undergrad students. So we did 6,000 divided by 3, and that's how we got by 2, that's how we got 3,000. And then the reason we're subtracting the 3,000 and not adding is because the food is included in this, so we lowered it down here. Does anyone have any questions?
Senator Wyatt.
If you're including the event open, why wouldn't you go the dollars per person method? I'm sorry, I wasn't in ASGBC on Tuesday.
No worries. So we actually had 4 different ways of how we were gonna allocate the money, and this one just came out to be the one that got voted on and we believed was the most equitable option. I'm happy to go through like all of the options later on and show you how we did it.
Point of order, the time allotted for this has now elapsed.
Chief Justice.
Point of clarification, Senate can continue until we lose quorum. So I understand that people have 2:30 classes, but if we are passionate about getting this voted on before today's meeting ends, we can continue until people leave the room.
Senator Sophia.
I move to extend the time by 5 minutes.
There's a motion on the floor that has been seconded to extend the time by 5 minutes. Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, we will now vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed, and any abstentions. Motion passes. We extend the time by 5 minutes. Senator Sophia.
I move to approve ASGBC's recommendation of $13,320.
There's a motion on the floor that has been seconded to approve ASGBC's recommendation of $13,320. Is there any discussion?
Can I say something? Okay, never mind.
Oh, okay. Senator Michael.
Just gonna be a little bit of vulnerable with earlier right now. I'm actually considered 90% stable. I have TBI and PTSD, both that I received from war. I do not agree with what the recommendation was. I would like to amend that to 16,460. I looked over the budget and all I did was take off the travel expenses and lodging for the 2 days, and that's how I came up with the number. I would like to move the amount to $16,460.
Speaker Pro Tempore.
Okay, like last time, we can't say a number. We would have to say yes or no to this and then say a number. So we can talk about the motion that is currently on the floor to approve the ASGBC's recommendation right now, and then we can move forward.
Student Life Chair.
I'm gonna suggest that we today. This is like not miss. I don't know if someone knows this right now because I think we're in the middle of a motion, but that we fund for their EV to be able to secure the space so they can get funding from the other organizations and so they can move forward with that stuff and table this.
Senator Jameson.
Call the question.
There's a motion on the floor to call the question. So we have a motion for amendment that is.
A motion to approve.
Okay, so it's just.
Nobody seconded his call to question.
Pardon?
I think you need a second for
order, speaker not recognized.
There's a motion on the floor that has been seconded to approve ASGBC's recommendation of $13,320. Is there any discussion? Oh, no discussion. We move to call the question. We will now move to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed? And any abstentions? Motion fails. Senator Michael.
I move to amend the amount to 60. Oh, I move to deny ASGBC's recommendation.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor that has been seconded to deny ASGBC's recommendation. Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, we will now vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed, and any abstentions. Motion passes. Speaker Pro Tem Boer?
Okay, who just said the amount that we would say without the lodging fees? Okay, you can continue and then we can talk about that. I just forgot about the number. I'm so sorry.
Senator Michael.
Yes, I move to amend the amount to $16,460.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor that has been seconded to fund this club in the amount of $16,460. Is there any discussion? Senator Wyatt.
Is this based on?
I just took out the lodging in the travel.
Point of order, speaker not recognized.
Senator Michael.
All I did was remove travel and lodging from the amount.
Senator Wyatt.
That's like what this category is meant for, is to allocate funds for that.
Yeah.
That's the point of the conference and retreat, is $80 for lodging, travel, and like the admittance fee to the whatever the thing is.
Can I say one thing? Yeah. This, you might be confusing it with the one that we were looking at prior, which was the event open to entire student body. But what we did is that's the reason why we added this for the $80. Like the registration, the lodging, transportation, travel will all be covered.
Student Life Chair.
I see my time.
Senator Jameson.
I see my time.
Senator Sophia.
So wait, if we fund it per Senator Michael's previous number without travel and lodging, we're still giving them more money than what was allocated by ASGBC's conventions, conferences, and retreats. So would we be helping the club more by approving Senator Michael's, or would we be doing the club more good by approving ASGBC's original number? Directed at you, Finance Chair.
Directed at me?
Yes.
Of course I see. Okay, yeah. Senator Michaels.
Senator Michaels?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Michael.
Yeah, just a little bit of clarification. I mean the director's travel and lodging. That's what I mean.
Okay.
Yeah, not the participants.
Health and Wellness Coordinator. Student Life Chair.
I called a question, the motion on the floor.
Somebody needs a second.
Second.
Call the question.
There's a motion on the floor that has been seconded to approve this event for funding of $16,460. Is there any more discussion? Oh, not funding travel and lodging of the speaker. We will now move to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed? And any abstentions? Motion passes. Student Life Chair? there's a motion on the floor that has been seconded to adjourn Senate. We now move to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed, and any abstentions. Thank you. Senate is adjourned. Have a good weekend, everyone.